If you're struggling with stress eating or binge eating or any other unhealthy eating behavior, this video is for you. My name is Angela, and I am down 30 pounds using the law of attraction. Part of that law of attraction success is through my health coach, Andrea. Andrea is going to share with you some proven techniques and tips that she has been sharing with me that have helped me overcome my binge eating addiction. I'm turning 40 later this year, and it's been decades of my life that I have spent using binge eating to cope with my emotions. Andrea, thank goodness, showed up at the right time when I was ready to learn how to change, and she has helped me make this shift, and I know that you can as well. It's a cliche to say, if I can do it, you can do it, but trust me, look over my YouTube videos over the past like 5, 6, 7 years. You'll see my weight goes up and down and up and down. It's because I've been a yo-yo dieter, and now I feel completely cured from my binge eating addiction. Part of that cure was through Andrea. She's been generous enough to offer a discount code for you watching this video. Use my discount code ANGELA10 for 10% off her 12-week Ditch the Scale course, and you will learn these principles for yourself. I am a walking and talking testimonial for Andrea and what she's taught me over the past few weeks I've been working with her. I'm currently taking the course myself, and I've already made dramatic progress in such a short amount of time. So it's working for me. I know it will work for you. Let's get to the interview. You may have seen my previous video that I will have linked in the description box below about using the law of attraction, how I was able to use that law to get to where I am today, which is 30 pounds down. And I am on a spiritual journey as well as a weight loss journey, and the two go hand in hand. So it is my honor and my privilege to introduce to you today a very huge part of this journey for me. And it is my health coach, Andrea. Andrea, tell them all about you. Give them your qualifications, because you are like the mom.
Thanks for having me. Hello. Yeah, so my name's Andrea. I am a nutritionist. I'm also a personal trainer. I'm also a health coach. I'm a self-love, food and body image coach, all the things. I have been through it 100%. I also have like my own weight loss journey where I lost like 30 pounds and whatnot. I was bulimic back in the day, binge eater, emotional eater, all of the things. I had some serious issues around food, and I was really able to, I went on this whole journey myself around, becoming a nutritionist, becoming a personal trainer, becoming all of the things, went through like all the things personal development as well, to just really figure out what was going on with me, and then also be able to help my clients as well. And so that's just like super short about me. But yeah,
it's your journey, and it's what's enabled you. It's what's allowed you to have the background knowledge and the sympathy for people like me who were searching for an answer. And then, by a fortuitous, circumstance, I stumbled upon you, like you stumbled upon me. So it was, I like to say it was the law of attraction that led to each other. And, in my previous video, I talked about how Andrea had reached out to me after I had posted an Instagram post, talking about my binge eating addiction and just how I would binge eat to cope with my emotions. And so Andrea reached out to me, we started talking, and thank God, because she is a huge part of my journey moving forward from here as well. So I think she helped get me to the point where I was able to just boom, binge eating is done. And I definitely feel that she has given me the tools right now, because I'm still doing her course, to, continue along this path of success in the future. And it's also given me like a deep passion to share this message with others. So thank you, Andrea, for coming on here, because especially right now, as we film this, maybe somebody's watching this a year from now, I don't know. But as we film this, we are deep in COVID-19, and there are people that are at home, and I see it on my Facebook and on my, all of my social media, where people are just coping by eating. And it's understandable. Listen, I understand. Like, we both understand, like, it's just, it's the way people can deal with their emotions, especially negative emotions. And so for anybody out there who's watching and is like, I am dealing with stress by eating, give us some advice. Like, give the advice that you would give to them, that you have already given to me, that has helped me, that I can testify. Her advice is good because it works for me. So give them advice on what to do about the stress eating.
Yeah, of course. Well, even before I do that, I just want to say, because like you mentioned, I reached out to you when you were posting about binge eating, because it really is like, when I see people that are going through this, like you mentioned, I did go through my whole journey. And so I think that it's what's created this such a huge passion for helping women like yourself, or back when you made that post, or like anyone that might be struggling through this with the whole coronavirus thing, because I know what it's like. I've been there. And so I have this like fire to be like, I saw your post and I was like, oh my God, I need a helper. So it's so funny. It really was like law of attraction. Everything worked out perfectly. It was the perfect match. And so I am so happy to be here. But yes, right now with all the uncertainty going on, there's so many people turning to food, especially you're home, you bought all the quarantine snacks, and now, you know, you loaded up on food, and now it's like, what else you do? You're bored. You're turning to the fridge. You're turning to the pantry, right? And so I think that first of all, we just have to have so much compassion and so much understanding for what we're doing, because it is really, it's something that we're doing to protect ourselves almost, right? Like it's a protection mechanism that we've developed, that maybe even as children, we started using food to protect ourselves. It was what was comfortable. There's so much uncertainty right now. There's so much going on that what feels comfortable is to turn to food. It just might not be the best way to meet that need for certainty and that need for comfort, right? It's beautiful to have tools and have different ways to meet that need that isn't always turning to food, right? And so I think that what tends to happen is you feel an emotion, you feel the anxiety, you feel the uncertainty, you feel the stress of everything going on. And so you don't want to feel that anymore, because it's like a bad emotion, right? We don't like how it feels in our body. So we turn to food to numb that emotion, to feel more comfortable. And so we tend to just like stuff it down, not process really why is that emotion coming up, but we just tend to like stuff it down, numb it, so we don't feel it anymore because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. And so food for that moment will shift that state, right? It'll make us feel more safe. It'll make us feel more comfortable. But then now down the road, what then tends to happen is we beat ourselves up because we overate. We add judgment to it. And then that makes us feel bad again. And so then we turn to food again. And so it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And I've been through it so many times. I know you have as well. And so what we need to understand really is that every emotion in our body, it's just information. It's just data. Our bodies are trying to tell us things. If we're feeling overwhelmed, our bodies might be telling us like, hey, slow down, right? You may need to slow down in this moment. You may just be looking for love. Like you may just be looking for, if you're stressed, you may just be looking for safety, security. What's another way that you can find safety? Where do you feel safety in your body? Like, could you go inside and give yourself what you're looking for versus always looking externally to fill an internal void, right? So it's a little bit about food, but it's also nothing about food, because it has nothing to do with food, because it's these emotions. And just like we use food is just the most socially acceptable, readily available drug on the planet.
Right.
We could have turned to, like when I was going through it, I could have turned to alcohol. I could have turned to social media, to a lot of people.
Media.
A lot of people right now is also Netflix. Like, let me just escape through Netflix, through napping all day long. Let me avoid everything that's going on by napping all day long. So there's so many ways that we avoid what's actually happening, and we don't process it, which then like ends up building up, and then we go crazy, we binge, right? So yes.
These are all good tips. And, I want to take it back to some practical advice, because that was something that was huge for me, that you were able to give me practical advice. Like everything you're telling us is like what we need to hear, because it is the deeper message. And you rocked my world. All of this that you just told the public is what you told me when I had first met you. And then when we started working together, and I was just like, I never thought of it like that. I never thought about the whole numbing out that I was using food to do. Even when I would feel happy, I would eat like an entire box of cornflakes, because I just thought that's what I was supposed to do. Like I thought for some odd reason emotions are bad, which is part of my journey along this path, is I've learned that emotions are not bad. They teach us things, So one thing that you gave me that was a practical piece of advice, and you can expound upon this if you like, I really love that you told me, breathe. Like whenever I would feel either happy or sad or whatever, you said for you would place your hand over your heart, you would breathe, you would ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to teach me? So if you have practical advice for people like that, why is breath work important? Like why is breathing a great way to cope with the stress of all of this?
It's so funny because we just take breath for granted so often, right? We're just like, oh yeah, my body does that automatically. But literally anyone watching this right now, if you just take a deep breath right now, it's like a lot of times that's all we need. It's like we're going crazy, and then we go and we turn to food and we don't realize, like, just take a deep breath and it brings us back into our body. It calms us down again. It's so powerful. And so the whole reason that we're needing to do all of this work and that we stress eat and that we do all of those things is because we're so disconnected, right? We're in our heads. We're going crazy all day long. We're just thinking about all the things that could happen, all the things that are going wrong. We're in our heads all day. So really reconnecting into our bodies is so powerful. And the best way to do that is through literally just taking a deep breath. It brings us back into the body. It allows us to like get really present, because I know you can relate to this, and I know that I can definitely relate to this, but it's when we're in the middle of binging or stress eating or whatever, it's like an out of body experience, right? You don't even realize you're there. It's like it finished, you're done eating and you're like, wait, what just happened? Did I just down all those ice cream? I don't know, right? So it's the breath allows us to get really present. And there's so much power in that, because now that you're present, you're aware of what's happening. And now we get to choose. So we can choose to use all of this time for our frustration, and we can choose to go back and reinforce negative habits during this time, or we can choose to grow, right? You're either doing, with every decision you're making, you're either doing one or the other. You're either growing or you're reinforcing the old habits that you maybe don't like so much. So with having our kids at home right now, it's like we have the opportunity. Either we grow and become more patient, or we like go crazy and want to strangle them and just reinforce right? So with everything, it's all a lesson. It's all an opportunity. So some practical steps is, yes, when you're feeling that anxiety, when you're feeling that stress, sitting down, literally, like I used to just sit my butt down on the couch and just like start thinking, okay, let me take a deep breath. And yes, I love putting my hand on my heart. I think that when I started meditating, I would just always feel safe in my heart. I would feel love in my heart. And so when I was going crazy and I was stress eating and I was feeling uncertain and there was fear, I would always turn to my heart. And so I would take a deep breath, feel into my heart, like just feel my heart beating and just be like, wow, what a gift. Like I don't have to work for my heart. It's something that was given to me at birth, right? It's such a beautiful gift. So I would just go into gratitude. And I feel like gratitude is just such a beautiful emotion. And so I would just start asking myself better questions, because oftentimes when we're going crazy and we're eating and we're doing all those things, it's like, well, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And so your brain's going to try to think of why is this happening, but it's not really going to come up with anything great there. So with better questions, we get better answers. So sitting down and just being like, okay, what is my body trying to tell me? This overwhelm, this stress. Okay, where is this coming from? What belief, what thought pattern, maybe what was I doing right before that? What triggered this? What do I need to give myself? Like what is there to heal within me? If I'm triggered, if there's an emotion that, like some negative emotion, which there isn't good or bad. I hate saying that, because there's no good or bad emotions. They're all information, right? But if there's a lower vibrating emotion that we're feeling, and so we've been triggered and we have this lower vibrating emotion, it's beautiful to really just where there's a lesson in it. There's an opportunity for growth. So really going inside and realizing, okay, what is there for me to heal here? What is my body trying to tell me? What do I need to give myself? Because so often, even when we're in like with our husbands or our wives and we're like fighting, we're looking for them to give us something that maybe we could just give ourselves. Like, right. Am I just looking for love? Am I just looking, how can I just feel the love that's in my body and expand that and give myself my own love, right? How can I, and so looking at, can I fulfill the need that I'm looking for in food? Because it's never about the food. It's always about the feeling that we think the food is going to give us. So what is that feeling? You know, I feel like I'm about to go to food. What's going on inside? Where's the chaos? How can I calm that down? How can I reconnect into my body, calm that down and realize, okay, what's my body trying to tell me? Where's the lesson here? How can I meet this myself? What's the feeling that food is trying to is going to kind of give me? How else can I meet that? Mm-hmm. So really just going inside.
Also, I want to talk about the self-love. There are two things you mentioned that I was like, okay, mental note, we need to talk about this because I am a testimonial for you. One thing you taught me was I was saying to myself, my internal dialogue, what I told myself was, I will be worthy of love when I'm skinny. I will be worthy of love when I reach my goal weight, when I become thin. And you were like, you're worthy of love now. And everybody just being born, like whoever's watching this, you being born means you are automatically worthy of love. You're deserving of love, and you are loved. And you telling me this was huge for me because you were like, you can choose to give yourself what you were withholding until you were thin. You can choose to give it to yourself now. So then also talking about the choice, I was so glad you said the word choice, and we're on the same wavelength because as I was thinking choice, you said choice. When it comes to coronavirus or anything else that's happening, any stressor that's in anybody's life, if whoever's watching this, if you have a stress in your life, you have a choice how you choose to perceive it. And I think that we also forget we are empowered. Like we are so empowered to decide on things. I think that for me, the big shift for me came with my binge eating. Like you had told me all these things, Andrea, you had set it up, you'd set it up. I took notes every time I talked to you. You know, I was doing your course. I'm still doing your course. Like it's like meditating, all the things. And the shift for me came when I realized, and I told you I read the Brain Over Binge book. It's when I realized you have the choice, and your your prefrontal cortex is what makes you do every action. So simply me understanding the science and the reasoning behind like why I had the urges to binge, it's because I thought I needed to binge to survive, which I know makes no logical sense. Me even verbalizing that out loud sounds so silly, but that's what I thought. When I realized my prefrontal cortex is what drives my actions, it made me feel empowered. And I kind of woke up and realized I do have the ability to change. I do have the ability to choose whether I binge or not, or if I stress eat, or, you know, if I engage in a behavior that's unhealthful for my choices, you know? So I think what I'm trying to do is empower the people who are watching this to realize that their choices are completely their own. And sometimes when you feel like the urge to go stress eat, you feel like it's impossible to say no to that. That's how I felt. I was like, the fridge owns me. Like, and you know, you could say, Angela, don't eat those cornflakes. And I'm like, it is impossible for me not to eat those cornflakes. That's how I was thinking. And then when I realized that I have the ability to choose, I have the power to choose, it's when I realized I don't have to eat those cornflakes. I'm not going to eat those cornflakes. That does not align with the goals that I have for myself. So whoever's watching out there and is thinking I have to stress eat and I have to react in this way and I have to feel negative and I have to, you know, watch the news and feel terrible about what's happening, you don't have to do that because you have the choice. So I'm so glad you said the word choice, because I was like, we got to talk about this. You know, it's a huge part of my journey. And you also helped me to realize I have the choice on how I choose to see myself, how I choose to love myself, and basically choice of my actions.
So much good stuff in what you just said. So yes, power of choice is actually a huge piece in my program, because it's really realizing that, and really realizing that how your brain works and how naturally our brains are literally wired to survive. And so our brains are going to turn to, they're gonna like perceive, because of course, okay, so we have like these monkey brains from so many years back, right? And so
monkey brain.
Yeah. And so automatically it goes to survival. Our brains are going to automatically go into survival. They're going to automatically go to fear. And so we have the choice though. So if left unguarded, weeds grow automatically. We're going to automatically go to fear. We're going to automatically go. And that's how a lot of people live their lives. It's like reacting. But we have the choice. If we are intentional about how we want to think, if we're intentional about, wait, no, we don't have to believe all of our thoughts. And that's like a huge piece, is to question your own thoughts. No, you don't actually have to turn to the fridge. No, there are other options there, you know? So really questioning your own thoughts and realizing like, okay, but this is just my brain and fear. What do I actually believe? What do I actually want to do? What thoughts do I actually want to think? And so I'm a huge fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. And so he talks about how like so often we want to change and we want all these things, but we're not aware of our thoughts. And so we literally have, I think it's like 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And all of our thoughts are 90% are the same that we had yesterday. So if we're thinking the same thoughts, and our thoughts really drive our emotions, and they drive our actions, and they drive all of those things, then there's no wonder people like go years without changing, and they're like doing the same things over and over again. It's really going in and shifting just being so aware of what's going on in your head, shifting those thoughts. And because we have the choice, we really do. The power of choice is so beautiful that we get to choose in every moment. But what often happens is we become addicted to our own suffering. So for me, and I'll just say for myself, because I know that this could be something that's really triggering for people, to be like, I'm not addicted to suffering. Like, this is just the way I am, right? Like I know that if someone would have told me this back in the day, I would have been like, no, it could be really triggering. But even for myself, I can say I was bulimic back in the day. And I can tell you right now that I was addicted to my problem because I got attention for it. I got love for it. I was my mom's favorite child because I was bulimic. Now I had all of my parents' attention. Now so all of those things. So who am I without that problem? Like, do I lose their love? And so we create all of these stories to where we almost become like addicted to connecting with people through suffering, right? Even
Yes, girl.
Yeah, you talk to other women, and even as friends, like we'll talk on the phone, and most friends, you don't go up to a friend and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing so great with my diet. I lost 30 pounds. I did. Like, that doesn't feel like, wait, I don't want to bring her down, right? So let me play small. Let me just not be too big in what I'm doing, or say that I'm doing so great. And so we sabotage our own success because we don't want to make others feel bad. And so we are so used to connecting through suffering, but we have to realize the power in actually connecting through empowerment, through empowering each other, and how you can be such a light for people through having your amazing transformation, just like you. Now that you're doing it, you're posting these videos, you're killing it, and you're going to be such a light for everyone else that's coming up.
What you just said was important, because you've talked about it with me a couple of times, and I still have trouble wrapping my head around it, because you're correct. I do go to the whole playing it safe and, downplaying my happiness and joy, because I don't want to let people know, oh, I'm so happy. You're right. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel normal, but that's what I want to be my new normal. I do want to inspire people. I do want to come clean about my level of happiness and joy and how I've overcome my binge eating addiction, because I do want to help, and, one other thing I'd like to talk about, because it is something I'm still working on, is fear. Because you've really been talking to me, and I can tell you I still have this issue. I have a fear of judgment. Any fear, not just that, but I know people out there watching, everybody has fear of judgment. Give them the message that you're always giving to me, so that, first of all, so I have it recorded so I can go back and listen to it 10 times a day, but tell this message, because I think it's really important right now, especially with the state of the world. And there's a ton of fear that is rampant everywhere.
Yeah. Well, fear that's rampant now is a little bit different, but if we're talking fear of judgment, the fear of judgment is, I think that the main thing to realize is that when others judge us, it has nothing to do with us, and it has everything to do with their view of the world, their belief systems, their experiences, right? And so, for example, if I were to, I don't know, look at, what's an example? I'm trying to think of like a really easy example. So if I were to even just, I don't know, I'm looking at my dog right now. So if I have this dog, right? And so I would maybe see her on the street, and it's like, I would be like, oh, she's cute, but whatever. And then I buy this dog, and I have this experience with this dog, and I love it. And now I see her, and I'm like, oh my God, what a beautiful dog. The dog could have been the same dog, could have looked the same, could have had the same weight, could have the same length of hair, could have had all those different things. The difference is like the emotions, the experiences that I've had with that certain breed. And so, maybe I had a dog back in the day that died, that is like a certain breed. Now every time I see it on the, out on the street, I have this like love for this dog. The only thing that's changed, it's not the dog. It's my experiences, my beliefs, my whatever that might be. And so if someone is coming at you with judgment or saying something, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with how they see the world, with their perception of the world, with their own. And so when we also have to think of the fact that like when people are judging us, it's because they're judging themselves,
That's
right?
true.
So I mean, another example might be, I think I used this one with you before, is like, if I don't like my nose, then I am going to like be really self-conscious about my nose, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to think of like point out everyone else's nose and see whose is prettier and see what, you know, and so I'm going to be judging other people for like their noses that aren't as not, I don't know, whatever.
No,
So
you're right.
because I'm judging myself, I'm then going to judge everyone else's, my own nose. I'm going to judge everyone else's nose, right? So really realizing that it has nothing to do with you. It really doesn't. We let what other people think of us, you know, really bring us down so much. And it just has absolutely nothing to do with us and everything to do with how they view the world and their own judgments and their own beliefs. And so we end up, again, playing it small, like you said, just to not, you know, we don't want people to think certain things of us. We don't want to make them feel bad. We don't. And so that ties right back into what we were just saying. Of just,
I'm so glad you said this, because this is like, everybody needs to hear what you just said. And you're right. It is a little bit different about the fear atmosphere that's happening right now. So I'm glad, you know, if you want to make that shift, I'd like to, just because I do feel like I don't personally have a lot of fear, because I'm living a faith-based life right now. You know, I spend a lot of time in prayer and meditation. But for someone out there who's watching that does have a lot of fear, and, you know, not just necessarily fear of judgment, but just fear in general, what message of hope do you usually tell people? And I know it's going to go back to like choice and things like that, but kind of give us a broad overview if you don't mind.
Again, it actually goes back to like our brains and the fact that they're automatically going to go to fear. And so, yes, we have a choice not to, and we have a choice to focus on something else. I think that for me, the biggest thing was really realizing or reconnecting to a higher power, and not in a religious way at all. I mean, any religion that people have, I completely respect all religions, but for me, it was more just realizing that I'm not alone, realizing that I'm guided, realizing that I'm supported, connecting back to the fact that like everything is happening for me. And so our thoughts literally, so I have, you know, there's this framework of how our beliefs cause our thoughts, and our thoughts cause our feelings, which then cause our actions, which then cause the result of our life. And so our thoughts are literally at the top right there with our beliefs. And so if we switch that belief to like, I am so guided, I'm so supported, everything is happening for me. I think that the belief that literally changed my life was to realize that everything is happening for me. And I think it's literally been what's been almost like this like self-mastery for me, is to believe that all of the triggers, all of the things, like it's all there for me to teach me something, to you know, it's such a beautiful belief to have, because even during these times where fear is going crazy, fear is going rampant, it's like, no, it's literally all happening for us. Like the universe, the world, God, whatever, may be telling us all to slow down. If you're having issues around work, or you lost your job, is it a blessing? Is it a job that you didn't even like? Is it, you know, like, where's the blessing? Where is the lesson? Where can we get creative? You know, there's so many ways to make money. And I know that there's also like people are really having a hard time, and I feel for them, but it's also, how can we use this moment for growth? How can we get creative with what we can do? How can we connect with people online, find new ways to unite, find ways to serve others, right? So when we take it outside of ourselves and our own suffering and our own like, why is this happening to me? But we're like, wow, this is such a beautiful moment for growth, for opportunity, to get creative, to realize why this is happening, how this is happening for me. It really shifts it. It's such a huge shift of like out of fear and into faith and love and growth and service.
Everything's so profound. And I love that you touched on the mantra that I try to tell myself too. Everything is always working out for me. And I like how you expounded even more. You're like, everything is working out. Everything's unfolding in perfect timing too. You know, like everything happens. Like that's when, you know, I talked about the law of attraction and how it led me to you and all the other things that I'm doing and have done to get to the point where I am today, where I literally feel like zero desire to binge eat. And, you know, like I said, I see, you know, we opened with this, I see on social media, all my friends that are like, you know, my 600-pound life. And, you know, they're going to call me for the show. And like, it's because they're stress eating, and I don't judge them because I've been there, but I also don't feel like that at all. And I'm almost like, I have the answer, I have the solution. Talk to Andrea. It's like all of these things are kind of unfolding for me. And when I look back on my weight struggles, I feel like I've always known, like, I feel like not always, but in recent years, when I would ask, like, why am I struggling so hard? I almost felt intuitively like my struggles are so that when I overcome them, I can share my struggles with others and tell them how. So this happened to me with my son. He had a tongue tie. He was born with a tongue tie. He wasn't able to breastfeed. He wasn't able to eat solid foods. It was just a mess. Like, it messed up his sleeping. Like, his health was, completely affected because of his tongue tie. So, 2 doctors told us he doesn't need to have that tongue tie fixed. Finally got it fixed. Then the local news station that I used to be a reporter at did a story on it. And then like 50, 60 news stations across the country picked it up. And I had women messaging me from all over the country, California, Idaho, like women messaging me being like, I'm getting my baby's tongue tie fixed because of you. So I feel like that is what is happening with me now. Like, I feel compelled to talk about my weight struggles and to talk about the binge eating addiction that I suffered with for years, like decades actually, so that people will know if someone like me who's been down this road for so long can just flip it like that, like in a light switch, because of all the things I've been teaching myself, all the things I've been learning, the way that I'm living my life now, the spiritual journey that I'm on, you can do it too. So I wanted to talk to you today because I feel that you do have the message of hope. You do have not only the practical advice, but also the deeper understanding about what goes on behind the binge eating. Like, what are those urges? You always say the word emotionality, which I love because I've never heard it before, but the emotionality of why we binge eat. So finding the deep root. And I think that, for anybody who's on the fence, I'm going to put in the description box below the link to your course and your website and your information, because I highly recommend it. I tell everybody, this is my health coach and she's helping me so much. I would say that until you get to the root issues, you're still going to have the same problem forever. And that's what I was looking for when I first started working with you, because I was like, I have yo-yo dieted up and down for so many years. I want this to be it. Like, I want this to be done forever. And I have the belief and the faith and just the intuitive feeling like, this is it. Like, for me, this is it. Like, I am on the down, like the scale is going down. And I think it's going to continue to go down and I'm going to stay there.
I just want to point something out is that everything you're saying, if you even hear like the conviction in your voice that you so believe that this is it for you, so believe, like, our beliefs are everything. And when we don't have that belief, that's where we self-sabotage. Like, when we're like, well, maybe, but we still believe that, like, well, I'm not, because so many of us have this belief of like, I'm not worthy unless I'm a certain weight, right? Yeah. Just like you had mentioned. And so getting to the root cause of like, where is that coming from? How do we shift this belief? How do we give that to ourselves now? And from that place, stop binge eating. And from that place, give ourselves love and want to nourish ourselves, because we feel so worthy right now. We feel so innately just innately worthy. Right. So, I think that the biggest shifts for you has just really been adopting those new beliefs. And even when you talk about the law of attraction, I love talking to you because you're like, I'm a master manifester. Like, what a freaking great belief to have. Of course you're going to manifest
every day.
There's so much certainty in like, this is going to happen for me, that it happens. It literally does. Because when we're like wavering, we're like, I don't know. And we're kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Things don't really, like, the universe doesn't really allow. It's like, well, do you actually want it? Do you not want it? But for you, I think that what other people, like anyone watching this, can really take away from everything that you've done is like, you've adopted these beliefs and you've made it a part of who you are now. Because we tend to believe, like, back in the day, I know for myself and even for you, we had this belief of like, I'm a binge eater. And if that's your belief, that's what you're going to continue to manifest, right? Because in your subconscious mind, that's what you're recreating. And when you are not binge eating, it's like, oh, well, this is out of alignment for me. I'm a binge eater. So you're going to self-sabotage. Self-sabotage happens when our beliefs don't match up with our actions. And you're like, that doesn't feel right. Let me go back to binge eating. So shifting those beliefs. And I think that that's obviously easier said than done. And that's something that's why, like, I go through the whole course to help people do this. You've caught on to it so fast, and you're like the most amazing student ever, because you've just like felt it. And you're like, no, you're so right. Intuitively, this feels right. Let me make the shift. Let me believe this. And you've taken action, and it's so beautiful to see how far you've come and how amazing you are. And like, So, but I wanted to point that out, because even when we're on our phone calls, I'm like, she believes so much that she's a master manifester. She believes so much that this is it. She believes so much that, and that is literally what's getting you to manifest all of these things, is like so much certainty in what you're doing. And so that is, I think, one of the biggest things that people need to really work on embodying, is like just a strong certainty.
I would definitely, and thank you, by the way, I would definitely say that, the messages that you gave me, which you have just given the public here, there's more, like, obviously doing your course goes deeper. Like I watch your videos, I do the meditations, but like, you gave me the message that I was ready for, that I just hadn't had yet. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the whole, like when you, like, it was such a game changer for me when you were like, why are you waiting until you're skinny to give yourself self-love? You deserve it now. And you can choose to give yourself that self-love. I mentioned it earlier, but like, that was a game changer for me. Like I was like, oh, I can love myself now. Like, it's like you hear the words, like you got to love yourself now to get to where you want to be, but it's like, you don't really embrace it. And I didn't embrace it until you just kind of said it, and then it shifted in me. So since then, it's just been like dramatic. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am now a meditator. You know what I mean? Like you asked me 2 or 3 weeks ago, you're like, who are you? I'm like, I don't know. I never was able to manifest until, I was able to do this. And I do meditate every day now. I've always been a prayer. Like I've always been someone who prays. And now I've just added this extra practice. And I just feel like, faith is everything. It's, your beliefs is what you just talked about. So I obviously could talk to you for a much longer time. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up because this is a long video. But what I want to say is, especially for anybody who's watched this long, reach out to Andrea. She definitely does this as a coaching service. So I can testify as someone who's been working with her that she has helped me. Like this has literally been, she gave me the messages that I needed to sustain where I am today, where I don't feel stressed and I don't have the desire to binge eat. It's like, it's insane because I've not been like this. You know what I mean? So I definitely feel that reaching out to her and taking her course or working with her one-on-one, whatever you feel compelled to do that. And if at the very least you just watch this video and you take away some things that help you in your journey, then our work here is done. So Andrea, is there anything else I haven't asked you that you think people should be aware of before we wrap this call up?
I just want them to know exactly what you just said, that they're so worthy now. And for anyone watching this, you're so loved. Everything is literally within you now. There's no need to continue to look externally for the things that are really internally, that are internal, that you can find within yourself. You're so, I'm pregnant right now, and there's no way, like when you look at like how we build, how we come to be, like the chances of being born, we see so many people walking around, so we're like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm just another human. But no, like there is no way it was a mistake that you're here. There is no way that there isn't some sort of value that you're meant to bring. And there's no way that what you're going through right now is not happening for you. There is literally like no chance that you're not worthy, that there is no purpose for you, that there's no. So I just want you to know how loved you are, how supported, how guided, how much purpose there is to you being here. And so I want you to really feel that, take that in, and just, I don't know, just go from there. Just know that. Just have that as like a knowing that you are innately worthy.
This is everything. That's the whole thing. Like everything we're talking about is that. So thank you so much, Andrea. And for you watching at home, thank you so much for tuning in for this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment below with anything that you took away from this. If you have any questions, I'll have all of her contact information in the description box. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.